Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to those of us joining here on LinkedIn Live, on YouTube Live, and Facebook Live. And I do appreciate everyone coming in during this very somber day, September 11th. And I would like to share a moment of silence to honor those who lost their lives oh so many years ago. Okay, so welcome to the Insights segment of the Eye Care Marketing Insights, Innovation, and Impact Live broadcast series. And I'm going to go ahead and do a little technical stuff here for everybody today. So hang in there with us. It's live, folks. I'm your host, Dr. Sandy Eveleth, your eye care marketing OD. And whether you're live with us today or watching during the replay, we would love to hear from you by having you drop a comment or question below. And with me today, I have my friend, amazing co-host, and your favorite optometrist, Dr. Darryl Gover. Darryl, please take a moment and introduce yourself to our audience. And thank you, sir, so much for joining us today.
Good morning, everyone. It's your favorite optometrist, Dr. Darryl Gover. Happy Saturday. I'm super excited to hang out with my colleague, my buddy, Dr. Sandy. My name is Darryl Gover. I'm an optometrist based out of Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina. Love everything eye care related. Anything I could do to uplift this profession, I'm all about. So I do a little bit of everything from podcasting to consulting to working with the dream team over at My Eye Doctor. Today, I'm super excited just to really talk all things marketing when it comes to eye care. So with the expert, with the guru, my buddy, my friend, my pal, Dr. Sandy, let's jump right into it.
Thank you. And we're doing something a little bit different today. Darryl and I moderate the Eye Care Marketing Club over on Clubhouse, where we discuss all things marketing and branding for the eye care industry. In fact, since we are able to do this over here, I'm going to go ahead and put up the banner for the actual link, and you can actually go on over and find us there. We usually meet weekly to give you all of these kind of tips and whatnot. And actually, I want to go ahead and pop over here. We've got a couple of visitors already. Salim, thank you so much, and good evening to you as well. And Gary, you're welcome for the welcome. And he pops into our Clubhouse meeting and gives us some absolutely amazing tips on everything that we're talking about today. So some of the tips that you're going to hear are actually because of him, and we appreciate that. Yeah. And then Obi Malopi, we love you, man. Thank you so much. And thanks for that sweet comment. Legends in the eye care industry. You are right up there with us, OB. So thank you very much for joining us. And then Darryl, thank you. Happy Saturday, everyone. I appreciate that.
Hey,
I definitely do.
Let me tell you something. You have officially, you officially make it or have made it when you have the greats like Obi Malopi and Gary commenting on your platform, right? Because these are two guys that I look up to when it comes to marketing and eye care and just the work that they've done in eye care. So, it speaks volumes of who you are, Sandy, and it speaks volumes of your brand as well. So I just want to say thank you, everyone that's listening. But we're gonna have a lot of fun today. Let's dig deep into it. Let's talk.
Absolutely, and we love you too, Gary. And thank you, Obi. Absolutely, it's a privilege to learn from you as well. And just so everybody knows, this is quite a production here. We've got a few switches and buttons and things that we're doing over here. So hang in there if there's a glitch or two. But I absolutely love presenting everything that we learn over there on the Clubhouse, and that's why we love to share it with you. So let's go ahead and get going on that. So the first things first is I did mention in the post that we're going to be talking about the lessons learned, and we're going to be doing this as a regular segment. So I just want to start with a theme that keeps popping up in the room, and something I hinted at when I actually posted this on the LinkedIn post that I mentioned. I think it was yesterday or the day before. So what is the number one thing that, hang on a second, and we'll get, because I want to make some room for some of the banners that we're going to put up there. But what's the number one thing that you can do to attract more patients into your practice? It really consists of three things that we're going to talk about today, three segments of it. But the main thing is if someone moves to town or someone hasn't been paying attention to or hasn't gotten a referral for an eye doctor in their area, they probably will go into Google and type in the search phrase something like best eye doctor near me or best optometrist or optometrist near me. So, what do you think is vital for showing up high in the search engines? And also, actually, more importantly, what will influence a prospective patient's decision to come in and see you instead of a competitor? And it's really simply one thing. So, what do you think it is, Darryl?
Oh, I feel like I may know the answer. Maybe we should open it up to the crowd. Anyone that's listening, tuning in, what are your
Here we
thoughts?
go.
Because we
Oh,
like
I already did it.
oh.
Sorry. I jumped the gun on this one.
It's all good. It's all
Um,
good.
and again, I've got to give kudos to Gary because he talked a lot about this in the room. But it's something that we all do and we all pay attention to when we're out there looking at other things. But it's we've got to get more 5-star reviews on our, and I'll talk more about this in a bit, but in our Google My Business listing. So it sounds ridiculously simple and perhaps not important enough to rank number one. I think we both think it's ranking number one for this, but think about it. Anytime you search, as I mentioned before, anything, the best of anything, including healthcare providers, if you haven't been given a recommendation by someone, even if you're going out to eat, we're going to Google a certain thing in that search phrase. And the first thing that pops up is what we call the 3-pack. And part of that 3-pack is a map. And then the first 3 listings of what Google thinks is the most important listing. And you're going to look for those reviews. You're going to see how many reviews there are and how many of them are 5-star. What does Google see as the actual ranking for that? But you want to do it the right way. So Google won't penalize you and actually hide those honest reviews. So I've come up with 3 tips to get you to actually get those 5-star reviews from your practice. If done the right way, is gonna actually show them, because Google can get a little bit upset at you if you don't do it the right way.
And Sandy, one thing I want to spend a little bit of time on is I want everyone to really think about how you are outside of your office, right? Think about what you do when you go out to, as Sandy had mentioned, to eat, to shop, to do various things. Think just like your patients would think. And this would make complete sense. And you will always do the right things to get more people to come to your practice. Prime example, last night I was looking at going out to eat with my wife, but I was tired from all travel, so we didn't end up going. And the first thing I did was I Googled a restaurant, top 10 restaurants in Durham, North Carolina. And the first thing I looked at were the reviews. And I wanted to see the 5 stars. I wanted to see the photos. I wanted to see all the information I could get. And I wanted to be able to do it quickly because I didn't want to miss out on an opportunity to book a slot that accommodated my wife and I. So just think about how your patients think. Put yourself in their position and think about other things that you normally would do, and you will understand the importance of what a 5-star review can do for you because it dictates how you move as well as a person.
Absolutely. And Gary just piped in. I'm going to actually show his comment in just a moment because it's a great segue because I actually included it as part of the presentation. So, and again, I'm pretty sure that we got that information from him when he was in the room. So Gary, I'm going to show that. I'm not ignoring you. I'm going to go ahead and show that. So let's go ahead and get to it. So one of the first things you want to make sure of is that you want to start asking for these reviews slowly and increase them over time. Google kind of figures it out that if all of a sudden you go for maybe you have 10 reviews and all of a sudden you have 100 reviews the next day, it gets very suspicious. Sometimes Google is trying to protect you. It doesn't want any spammers putting bad reviews on there and saying anything that it shouldn't say. So you want to actually do it organically. You want to start asking your patients for those reviews, but you want to do it slowly, sort of drip it over time, because again, Google will think that you're gaming the system. And, it might even be, that you're getting good reviews, but it thinks that you're pushing people to actually get them. And I'll talk a little bit more about that, but you want to make sure that you're getting them organically and naturally, as though, hey, if you see 20 patients a day, you might get 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, either a day or a week. So you want to make sure that it feels like it's being organic. So that's one of the things that that we need to watch out for. Another thing is, hang on. technology folks, is, and here is segue. Here's Gary, a printed QR code in the frame. Again, put it in your point of service materials, put it in anything that you might send out, whether it's, I'll talk about this again in direct mail pieces. But it's extremely, extremely, extremely important is you want to make sure, and I see a lot of practices do this, and in the last few years, Google is going to think you're gaming the system if you're getting a lot of reviews from the same IP address. Well, guess what? Sometimes, it's not always, but sometimes if you're in the office and you're working, again, I'm not real technology savvy when it comes to this, but if you're working off of the Wi-Fi of the practice, it's going to look like all of these reviews are coming from the same place. So you want to make sure that you're not asking them to review you right then and there. In fact, another idea, and Gary might have hinted this, is you print up some business cards or some little placards that are easy to carry that you give to the patient just as they're checking out, and ask them, hey, if you don't mind, if you had a great experience with us, we'd certainly, appreciate, or whatever kind of experience, we'd certainly appreciate you leaving us review, the comfort of your own home when you've got some more time. You just don't want all of these coming from the same IP. That again, can penalize you. And the problem that happens is that they may take all of your reviews down, or they just won't show a lot of your reviews, and they're authentic, they're honest reviews. So you want to make sure that, that's happening outside of the IP. Go ahead.
Let's talk about this a little bit more because, anyone that works with someone and you give them amazing customer service, a great experience, the thing that's going to pop to mind is, hey, let's get you while you're in the moment, while we've made that connection. Can you fill out a review right away? And you think, doing this in your place of business would be the most ideal place. But from what you're saying, Dr. Sandy, that we should not do that. They should do this far away from our practice. That way we don't get pinged on the back end. Right. I know that you said, hey, do this from the comforts of your own home. But what are some other ways to really present this? Because that gets a little, it's like, if you're not doing it now, why do we think the patients will do it when they get home? That gets
right. Well, yeah, no, that's a really good
email as well. But, open rates for email, not the highest. So
sure.
I'm just trying to figure out the best way to really capture patients
sure.
into this.
Sure. And that's a great question. And one way that you can do it where you have a good excuse to use a reason not to do it in the office is if they're dilated. So they might not be able to see, and you can kind of joke with them and say, we want to make sure you hit the 5-star, not the 1-star by accident, or if you want to say we did a great job instead of typing something wrong. So that could be one way that you can convince them that they need to do it somewhere else. But I would still challenge, and this is actually in the third segment, is ways to do it, methods of asking. It's like you almost knew this presentation. I promise you, he did not know this presentation. So as mentioned, as Gary mentioned, is, print up these QR codes. I would definitely say make them physical where you're actually handing out something. So, point of service, number one. Number two, another way to do it is go ahead and email them. Yes, the rates aren't good, but you and I should definitely have another session, Darryl, maybe the next session that we meet, talk about it. And when we get together in, on the Clubhouse, is to talk about ways to get better open rates. There's actually a ton of things that you can do to increase your email open rates. And remember, a lot of this stuff that we're doing, these are now our patients. This is not a cold mailing list that we're just marketing. This is a form of marketing. So you have to be careful and follow all the rules of HIPAA and personal health information, all that kind of thing. But you want to make sure, that maybe at the bottom of the emails that when you're sending to actual patients, you've tagged that email list. These are patients of ours. You put in the footer, the QR code or the link. You can actually link, and you want to make sure, again, I think Gary's mentioned this, you want to make sure that that QR code and that link actually goes directly to your review section of the, of your Google My Business, page of the profile. So, and there's, we can talk about that. I can drop some information about that. And if you send, some folks may still be doing some old-fashioned direct mail. If you do, on that direct mail piece, a nice big QR code, because again, they can't click on the direct mail piece, make it easy for them. Just keep thinking. You'll always be thinking, what is it that the patient, use their user experience, what's happening on their end, when you send it.
Yeah. And, another thing is maybe even consider marketing this on your social media platforms. You're always going
Absolutely.
to have multiple touch points with patients. You don't want to just have that one touch point in the office when they have their eye exam or whatever reason they may be coming in. To be able to have a Instagram, a Facebook, a LinkedIn presence, you're always going to be top of mind because they're going to see you on their feed. And if they see
Yeah.
your face or a video or something from your office, they're going to stop and click and look. That's another opportunity to remind them that, hey, if you had a great experience, click the link in the bio. And like you said, make sure that that link is directly to the Google area. That way they can give you that solid review. And that may be another great option in addition to the
Absolutely.
emails or the QR codes when you get home and things of that nature as well.
Absolutely. Again, anywhere that you can think of. And again, start slowly as you start to get, and Gary, you can even, if you're still here, you can pipe in. You had mentioned, and of course, I'm really bad at doing this for myself, but mentioned that you want to have at least 100 reviews per year. I remember thinking for myself, yeah, if I get 10 a year, I'm happy about it. But no, you really want to. So when it starts to hum and it really starts to, you're starting to get these reviews, these reviews coming in fairly, well, organically, and Google isn't penalizing you for it. Think in terms of that. You want to get at least 2 a week. So, that's an easy way to think about it. The other really, really important thing to think about is you do not anymore. It used to be okay, and they used to recommend it, but Google now does not want you to incentivize those reviews. In other words, hey, we'll send you out a $25 gift card to the local restaurant if you leave me a review, and not even ask for a good review, just a review. And that's how they figure that out. There's they're pretty smart over there at Google. They can kind of tell if there's, and it may be the person might say, hey, thanks for the gift card and here's your review. You know what I mean? So, you want to make sure that you're being pretty smart about it. Yeah. And in this, now I said, there's sort of really a three-pronged approach to this, that the number one thing is you want to make sure that you're getting really good reviews. But behind that, there's a couple of other really important things. So before you really start ramping up those reviews, before we get excited and start doing that, there's something else that you want to go in and optimize. And one of those things is, I keep mentioning it, is something called Google My Business. And let's get fancy here again. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to drop that link in there as a banner. So here's where you want to go to either set up, if you haven't done it, or claim it if Google has already set up for you. And if you've been in business for a short period of time, you probably already have a Google My Business listing. You just can't access it. You haven't claimed it yet. And there's a process for that. There's a couple of ways that you can do that. It has to do with, they send you a postcard to the mailing list that, that they have listed as your address. There's a phone call. There's in fact, I think Gary gave us sort of an inside scoop on that, but there's ways that things that you need to do in order to claim your business. If you do have your Google My Business, then you want to go ahead and optimize it. And I've just got a couple of tips. There's a million ways to do it, but a few things that you can do is images. And look at that. We have a cute little video going there. You could do video of your office, whether it's inside or outside. Give them that, that sort of that establishing shot where you're outside the building, so the patients understand, oh, this is the right practice. I'm at the right building. Show the inside of the practice. Maybe do a video of the patient perspective. Pretend that you're the patient and you're shooting it as though you walk in, the staff greets you, take a seat in the waiting room, look at the point of service or, video up on the wall or the materials that you have. Then you get taken back by your staff, do the pre-testing, welcomed by the doctor, go into the exam, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So do that kind of walkthrough. And that alleviates a lot of fears that the patient may have, or even a parent of a child. If you're a pediatric specialty practice, then you can alleviate a lot of those things. Images.
I love that video concept. I just feel like, if I see a video of the team before I walk in, then I'm already feeling like I'm a part of something special. I'm a part of the family. So I'm just sitting here imagining, like you said, maybe the doctor will go in acting like they're the patient and walk in, and the front desk person says, hi, my name is so-and-so. I'll be helping you when you come into the office today. Feel free to say my name and don't be a stranger. Like, it's already welcoming. It's already great energy. That brand that you have portrayed before they even walk into the office now aligns with what's going to take place in the office. That is a huge piece, a huge touch point. Video is awesome. I mean, it really can tell the
Yeah.
story of who you are and make it more attractive as well.
Yeah. And I just wanted to pop up Gary, I'm so thankful he's here. He's going to be giving us lots of great advice. And he said 12 reviews a year you know, is standard, which means if you're doing 100 a year, how wonderful. So he's giving us some advice. NFC technology, he's playing with it. So, be sure to go find Gary. He's all over. He's obviously on LinkedIn. He's on Instagram. I've seen some of his videos. He's got some great stuff out there. So please check him out. And, we can drop his information, his links in the comments after this is over. And then we've got another good piece here that Obi Malobi, I've also realized that practices simply say to
Huge.
patients to review them. Yeah. But
This is
those reviews are not specific to solutions. Very, very good point.
huge.
Thank you, Obi.
Very huge.
Absolutely. You want them to talk about your specialties. You want them to talk about your eyewear. You want to talk to them about staff, about, a particular person that may have helped you over a difficult situation. And of course, some things that maybe the doctor solved a problem that they haven't been able to solve for years. I mean, how wonderful is that? Just getting, don't just leave the 5-star review. That kind of goes to that point. Make sure that you're actually having text in there. Try to encourage them not just to click the 5th star or the 4th star. Make sure that they're also putting some text and they're talking to that. So let me see, Gary.
Quick question for you, because I know we've touched on this on Clubhouse just a little bit, and we probably need to explore this in more detail. But with these videos, at some point in time, and I think it's happening now with some of these platforms like Alexa and Siri, it's going to be important to actually have the video content to hear that audio, because that's going to start picking up when people are asking who is the best eye doctor, or I have a problem with dry eye, who should I find? We should really start mentioning this in our videos, because that at some point in time, if not now, will register and pop up when folks are looking for things online, right?
Absolutely. Very good point. Thank you. Thank you so much for bringing that up. SEO, it is getting indexed now. Audio is getting indexed now. So when someone asks me, and it's, how do I get indexed through Alexa? You basically optimize your Google My Business listing. So, that's, once you get in there and start optimizing, and Gary gave us the good point. I'm going to be back and forth here because I'm watching the comments too, but Gary made a really good point in Clubhouse that, don't forget to add 9 categories. It's really easy to see that you can add 3 categories, and this is where you can start putting your subspecialties. But make sure that you're adding up to 9 categories. They allow you to do it. And this is all for free, folks. This is, this is really, really cool and easy to do. And Gary just mentioned another great point, that the street view can change the image of what the patient sees on Google. So, when you go in there, the street view is one of those things that a prospective patient sees. They can go in there and do the 360 and move around and see where you're located and what you're next to and things like that. So, that happens on your Google My Business listing. So, how fantastic.
And think about this, Dr. Sandy. I mean, that street view is huge, right? Imagine having just pictures in your windows of dry eye, or a certain brand of eyewear, or your different services, as OB had mentioned. That's game changing. That reinforces that you're the expert in that area. And as soon as they see it, when they walk in, again, they'll know exactly where they're at. They're in the right place. But it's just so much marketing, so much branding that can take place by just a street view picture from Google. I mean, you have to take advantage of this. It's like when you go to Google My Business, there are so many different touch points that help brand you and help get people to walk into your door. So you have to make sure you capitalize on each one of those touch points, from the 5 stars, from the street view, to the services that you may provide, and the long list of other things that we're going to get in here shortly as well. So it's a huge piece for your marketing.
Yeah. And remember too, that Trudy, Charest, I think is how we pronounce her last name. Trudy actually mentioned that you want to make sure that you're talking in terms of symptoms. I always talk, when I'm in the digital marketing space, I talk about, you want to make sure that you're putting the keyword phrases, and I'll talk about this a little bit in just a minute, but you want to make sure that you're putting in terms of the problems that you solve. Well, in our world, those are the symptoms. So make sure that a lot of the text, is you can put text in your Google My Business. You can also post to Google My Business. And I think, and Gary told us this, that It used to be they would take it down. I think it was after a week, but now they actually leave those posts up. There may be some caveats to that, but it's, so you want to put that kind of information out there, whether it's on social media or on Google My Business, et cetera, that you're putting phrases up there that are in the terms of what a patient would use, not what we would use, but what a patient, when they're Googling something, instead of saying, why do I have dry eye syndrome? Why do my eyes feel dry when I worked on the computer all day? You want to say something like, why do my eyes hurt after I've been looking at a screen all day? So
Yeah.
you want to create blog posts and social media posts that address that. I'm going to put this up too, that Obi actually presented this morning, and he mentioned the journey of the patient in video format. So he's right there with us. He's his digital marketing knowledge and skills are absolutely phenomenal. So
Yeah. I mean, at
and
the
he
end of
want
the day, you just got to think like a patient does. Put
you do
yourself in the patient's shoes, look from their perspective, and it does wonders for you. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all people. We're all alike.
Yep.
We all consume things essentially the same. And just put yourself in that position, and this will just take it to the next level. It's a no-brainer.
No.
Even when it comes down to thinking, the symptoms, like my eye is burning, my eye itches, my eye is red, I can't see, it's blurry, I have blurry vision. What should I like? Simple things that can
Right.
really elevate your practice and your marketing.
Right. And I didn't even have this as part of the topic, but there's also buyer's phrases. So even if you flip over to the product side, things like how much is, what is
That's
this
a great one.
cost? So when you start to put those phrases, not only are they ready to come in for an eye exam, they're ready to pull out their credit card for your products as well, or some of your specialty services. But we're getting some love over here. So Gary is absolutely amazing, says OB, and he did a panel discussion with him last year, and that was super. And then Gary replies, well, thank you, OB. You are amazing too. So, there's a lot of love in this
We have
profession.
some bromance going on right here
We do.
between Gary and OB. You guys can keep
Yep.
that off a stage here, all right?
I
No,
love
but
it. I
these
love it. I love it.
two great
All right.
experts, and I love listening to them as well.
Oh, absolutely. And again, a lot of this stuff is coming from both of them. So kudos to both of them. So the third thing is, the reality is too, the other thing that we have to optimize, you want to start sending them to give us reviews, but up pops your website as well. So it's sort of a reciprocal thing. You want to make sure that your website is optimized before you start sending them to get a review, but you're also, as you're sending them to the review, you want to make sure that your website is optimized. So, you certainly want, and this is all about the patient journey, the prospective patient journey. You want to make sure that you're doing everything that you're supposed to. If your website is not optimized for the patient experience, again, going back to that, all the work that you put into getting those reviews and optimizing your Google My Business profile is a waste. So I'm going to talk about more of the concept, and this a lot has to do with when we did those website hot seats. I love doing that stuff on there. And I'm going to pop up. Obi just came up with another really good point, so I'm going to pop that up in a second. But we do these hot seats over on the club, where if you're willing, it's a great scenario. We're not going to be critical. We're going to be, here's some opportunities for improvement. Here's what you did great, all kinds of advice. And you just, let us know a day or so in advance, and we'll go ahead, or even sometimes right during the meeting, we'll go ahead and put up your website. And if nobody's willing to volunteer, either Darryl or I will volunteer, and I have to still do my website. So I've been just as nervous as you guys have been. So, but let me go ahead and pop up what Obi said. This is a really good point too, that there are different buying generations. So it's not just one ideal avatar. You want to be able to know that you're getting reviews from different groups. You're hitting, people want to see that, oh, I relate. This isn't just a pediatric or geriatric practice. I relate because I just saw a review of somebody that's in my demographic, that's, around my age, or they have the same symptoms that they're talking about. And again, if you offer niche services, then those reviews will cover both the different types of people and the different age groups. Absolutely, absolutely correct.
It's all about the
So,
connection. It's all about the connection. People
yep.
are looking to make an emotional connection with you. And if they see themselves, or if they see something that they need that you provide, it's easier to make that connection. And with your website, with Google My Business, just with branding, marketing in general, that is the opportunity to make that connection, to bring people into your organization, to help them and give them what they truly need. Connection,
Absolutely.
connection, connection, consistency, consistency, consistency. Those two things will help elevate what you're trying to do with your brand.
And I should have put that on there because I've got the next slide as though you read my mind again, is I should have also had connection.
Oh my goodness.
But
This
that's
is crazy. This is either we work together too much, Sandy, or like I don't know what's going on here. I'm gonna stop talking and wait until the slide goes before I say anything else.
Yeah. Thanks, Obi. I appreciate it. I'm going to pop up Gary's in a minute. I just want to let these guys know I'm not forgetting about them. Yeah, this is too funny. We're just on the same page. Brother from another mother. We are totally eye to eye. That's why I enjoy
Oh
sharing the
wow.
stage with you because you are awesome. So, so we've discovered even on our own, because it's always, it's so much easier when someone else can look at what we're doing and give us advice. But when we've popped up our own websites and also those that have been in the room, clarity and consistency are absolutely paramount. And I wrote this phrase: a confused mind always says no. I'm going to do a little fancy thing. I don't know if it's going to show up. It probably isn't. No, but it's, there's no question. It's, a confused patient never buys. It's the same kind of thing. So, one of the things that we discovered is that a lot of the websites that we evaluated had confusing messages. There were either too many calls to action, too many buttons, too many asks, too many places to look, too much text, not enough text. And the messaging just wasn't consistent. It was over here, I want you to do this, but over here, I want you to do this. Well, what does that mean? And, and I've worked in different worlds where even if, if you have a donate button, well, are you donating to a cause? Are you donating glasses, for the box, or, what is it that you're doing? And so it can be very, very confusing. Let me go ahead, and I want to throw up too, is Gary gave another good point about Google. So they want your patient. Okay, so I have this, Gary, you read my mind. Hang on. I ran up there a little too quickly. And thank you, OB. He was one of our hot seats. He was kind enough to let us critique his website, and he went ahead and he made changes. And I know you did too, Darryl.
Oh yeah. Look,
I remember.
when I have the expert sitting in front of me and giving me tips and advice, I'm never too big to take in any kind of information. So thank you so much. As a result, I've seen more traction, more hits, more people are contacting me, and it was all due to all the expertise from you, OB, Gary, just all the great eye care professionals that are gurus when it comes to marketing. So thank you again.
Yeah, and even your drdarrylglover.com site was really cool. I'm going to show that as well. I'll let that roll for a couple of seconds before I put the other banners up. But
Yeah,
it's so, again, Paramoid. So I go into a little bit more detail. So when I said messaging, what it basically means is your site's content. It's not just the text though. If you're talking about, let's say you're talking about doing an eye exam, yet you show a picture of you, like a personal picture, that's going to be great when you're talking about the about me. But when you're trying to explain to the potential patient that, I want you to see where we're at and what the exam is all about, that's when you want to go ahead and put the video from the patient perspective, or when you put some images of the front of the building, or you want to put the map up. You want to make sure that everything that you're putting on there is clear and consistent. This is not the place to get cute. A lot of digital marketers will try to get kind of cute with phrases and, to catch the attention. Well, that's fine when you're doing a headline, but when you're driving people to the place where you've already given a hint of what everything is all about, that's when you want clarity. You don't need to get cute. You don't need to get, confusing with your messaging. You want to be crystal clear. If you're talking about your specialty, don't make it vague. Be crystal clear. If you're, offering sports vision therapy or vision therapy, don't make it confusing. You can certainly explain it in terms of symptomology, but don't hint at what it is. Be crystal clear, explain it, define it, explain it, give examples, etc. So you want to be as clear as you possibly can. Let me throw some more.
Hey, Dr. Sandy, I was going to also say if we could be a little clearer about where they can join us on Clubhouse, that'd be great as well.
Absolutely. And I popped over. Joy, thank you for joining us. You're right. A confused patient hardly buys. And so I'm going to pop up those banners too. too at the end. It's basically just go over to Clubhouse and look for the Eye Care Marketing Club. And hang on, since you did say it, here it is. Look at that
There
technology.
we go.
So joinclubhouse.com. I think there's maybe even a possibility that, well, I think it's their blog that's clubhouse.com. They finally got they got to buy the domain back. But if you go to joinclubhouse.com/club/eye care marketing with hyphens in between, that's where we are. So thank you very much for bringing that up. And yes, Joy was asking, how do I join the Clubhouse? I'm a little behind the times, Darryl. I need you to help me with my little technology here. But yeah, absolutely. That's where you go. Thank you again, Joy, for asking about that. And that's where it is. So wonderful, wonderful. All right, let's keep going. So number one, your messaging, absolutely clarity and consistency. So what that actually means is when you're going over onto social media, if you have a company page or platform, don't just post all the cute pictures of, the family and all that. Yes, do include that as one of your buckets, but you also want to have, if you've got something over on the website, make sure that you're bringing that information, and even link in the bio or wherever you put the links, make sure that you're putting the same information, as a picture on Instagram, on Facebook, et cetera, and have some text, either similar text, but again, specific to the platform itself. So make sure that, you're doing that all across the channels. The other place
with the messaging, you also want to make sure that, again, you're speaking like the patient, right? That way you
absolutely. That goes absolutely that, that you're using the phrases that's where relevancy comes into play, and you're being relatable. There are four main things that I talk about when you're talking about, well, what do I include as part of the content? Well, you want to be, it's 3 R's and a T. You want to be remarkable, relatable, relevant, and timely. So those are the kind of things you want to think about when you're putting out content on all of these different things. So Obi's got to go. He's saying goodbye. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. So thank you. Have a great weekend as well, my friend. Thank you for joining us. All righty. So let's go ahead. And so we talk about branding a lot, and I think there's not enough time today to really go into what does that really mean, but what you just said in terms of the patient, branding is actually how the patients perceive you. We can talk all day about colors and looks, and everything needs to be consistent. If your practice, when someone walks in, it's high tech. I remember seeing somebody, I don't know if you've ever seen this, but somebody has this amazing practice where they have it decked out like Star Trek.
Yes.
Make sure that all of your website and your social media follows that theme, so people aren't shocked. Like, you don't have this sort of executive suite kind of look to all your postings, and all of a sudden you walk into a Star Trek looking office. It's just it's confusing, and it might be so confusing that the patient turns around and thinks, oh, I must be in the wrong office because I was over here on social media, or I was over here on their website, and it looks completely different. This can't be. Believe it or not, people will get confused and walk away because it's not what they thought. You want to attract the right people and repel the wrong people. So whatever your ideal humans or ideal patients are, you might have 5 or 10 of them defined. You want to make sure that everything that you're putting out there is clear, consistent messaging in the look and the branding. Absolutely. Not just the messaging, but in the branding.
Absolutely. And I want to spend just a few seconds on this piece here. Yeah. I just had the opportunity to go to UPike optometry school out in Pikeville, Kentucky, and we were touching on branding. And when it comes to branding, it's not just your website that you have to look at. You as a person needs to make sure that your brand aligns with the company that you're with, because a patient can look online and that brand that they see online matches the brand that they walk into as far as the office goes. But if your personal brand doesn't align with that, then there's going to be some type of disconnect there. And you may be unhappy and the patient may be unhappy because maybe you don't have the same vision. Maybe you don't have the same purpose. Maybe you don't have the same core values. So you have to really look at your personal brand and make sure that it aligns with the brand that you're going to work for, that you're going to team up with. That way you're hitting on all cylinders and you're able to create that ultimate experience for that patient that walks through the door.
Absolutely. And I think to that point is a lot of doctors will say, well, gee whiz, can I just be XYZ and just go ahead and do this, even if it doesn't quite align with the practice? And my answer to that is that how you behave out in your community? Because your online community is exactly that, compares to your offline community. If you're out there and you're coaching, your child's football team or softball team, and you're presenting yourself differently that may not be appropriate, that's going to turn off prospective patients. They're going to be sitting there next to you. They're going to be watching your behavior. If you're one of those, sideline coaching parents and you're not being appropriate, I guarantee you patients are not going to come. So when you have a local business, which is a local practice for us, you want to make sure that you're getting into the community and you are showing that your personal values, mission, et cetera, vision, mission, values align with your practices, vision, mission, values. And that absolutely carries over into the online world. There's no question about it. So that really is what branding is. It's the whole picture. It's how you speak. It's how your staff speaks.
Yep.
Are they behaving in line with your branding? Are they, is the, even as silly as the color of if they're wearing scrubs, does that make sense with the, the color of the graphics that you're putting out there and how your website presents itself? So all of that, how they speak, how they talk, how they dress, et cetera, it all goes to that. Whether we like it or not, first impressions make a big difference. And that's what branding is. And again, remember, branding is not how you think you're putting yourself out there to the world. It's how your patients and prospective patients perceive you.
Yep, you
Exactly. Exactly. All right. So where else do we need clarity and consistency? We need it actually in the practice's information. And this goes to when you're submitting, and I'll probably talk about this a little bit more, but when you're submitting your information, your website, your social media to different directories, you have to, for Google to show you on their page, on their search page, what they call the search engine results pages. So when someone types in best eye doctor near me, that for your page to show up at least on the first page and then to climb the ranks to get to number one, you have to, it's in their rules, their terms of service or terms of agreement, that you have to have your address, your physical address, your practices, your business's address on your website somewhere. And it's very easy nowadays if you're using, software like WordPress, it's easy to just do it once and it shows up on every page. Put it on your footer. Make sure that you're putting it in your social media. And what a lot of people don't know is that you can do, and again, I think I talk about this in a second, you can do geotagging, where if you tag your social media posts, each one of the platforms allows you to do this in some form or other, whether it's you're tagging the photos, you're tagging your location. Go ahead and if you can, list your practices either by name, it might pop up because it already found you there, or the address or something that's tagging your location somehow, some way. And it's vital, again, for Google to list you. And if you don't have it, they're going to kick you out. The other thing that you want to have, I didn't put this in my notes, but you want to make sure that you've got your privacy statement and your terms of service. And I believe you want to have a HIPAA statement. That's not required by Google, but I think it's either highly suggested or it is required by our profession that you want to have a HIPAA statement somewhere on your website.
Makes sense. I have a question for you,
Sure.
Dr. Sandy. I'm just thinking, again, being a consumer, being a patient, when I look up a service, a doctor, whatever I may purchase, a lot of times I only look at that 3-pack and just get all my information from there, because you can get more consistent timelines of when they're open. You can click directions there, and you can click to see the reviews, you can see the photos. Are we moving to an era or a time where that Google review, the Google My Business, is going to replace a website? Do you feel like we're going to see more people just utilizing that rather than an actual website?
That's a great question. They actually do offer I think it's a single page website. And I actually did that for my digital marketing because that's what's my official business that I have up online. And here's the reason where I would not recommend it. Maybe that's their intent, that they would love for you to do that, because then guess what? They don't control necessarily the content, but they control the presence of it.
Yeah.
So guess what would happen if suddenly you did something that was a no-no in Google's eyes, and they decided to take you down? Guess what? All that hard work that you did, disappears in a moment. Let's say you end up getting 10,000, or let's say 1,000 reviews, 5-star reviews. You're 4.9, which is, even that is hard to get, in the summary reviews. But all of a sudden that's gone. You've spent 5 years getting these wonderful reviews. You've got content out there that in the form of blog posts or in the form of Google My Business posts. I say the same thing for all of the platforms. In a moment's notice, that platform owner can take you down, can make you disappear.
Bye
And
bye.
it's happened to the best of us. And it's not easy to get it back up. Let me tell
Right.
you, it's not. So my advice would be, even if they say this is the wave of the future, don't do it. You want to have, I relate to all of this online stuff relates to offline stuff. And our website is the equivalent of our brick and mortar practice. That's where it all begins. That's our home base. We own that. And even if it's a WordPress site, WordPress knows, yeah, you own that. You own the domain. We're just hosting it for you. And you can always
Right.
move that hosting. So that's the thing. And then I equate all of our social media to you going out in the community, shaking hands, handing a business card, nurturing, acquiring connections, nurturing those connections, etc. And then your newsletter is the same thing as your blog post or your email newsletter, your online version of that. So just remember that stuff can come down. And then the fourth thing for clarity and consistency is, again, we touched on this on branding. Is what you and your staff present in the office the same as what's on your website, what's on
Yeah.
your social media, what's in your YouTube videos, et cetera, et cetera? Is the information up to date? This also goes to branding. It also goes to when you submit, and we'll have a whole other discussion about this, but when you submit your website to all of these other directories, in a sense, Google is a form of a directory. It's the search engine directory, but there's all kinds of local directories that you can post. And there are services out there that will do it for you. You just give them your information and they will push all of that out to national directories and local directories, and things like your chambers of commerce, your local networking groups, et cetera, et cetera. All of those things have directories that when you start to submit your website to them, Google looks at that, and that is another factor for raising you up in that. Like you said, the what you were talking about when you said the 3-pack is, I think the phrase is actually refers to, and I used to think it referred to what you're talking about, which is the map with the 3 listings, the most favorite listings. And sometimes now there's 4 where there's an ad version at the very top. But the 3-pack is actually the advertising section at the top, then the map section, then the organic section down below. And again, I think Gary made me aware of that. I was just calling it that map version. And to that point, lastly, is what you asked about the audio. When you optimize your Google My Business, that is what's going to pop up when someone might ask Alexa, what's the best eye doctor near me? She's actually going to say, and I don't know if she says the top 3, I'll have to research that, but that's something that is happening now because Google is indexing audio. Audio will be the future. So that's another motivation for you to go ahead and optimize your Google My Business listing. Very,
I think
very
that's
important.
a big deal with the audio because I always, whenever I'm out, whether it's in my practice, at the mall, outside, I always monitor what's going on around me. And the one thing that I have truly noticed is that everyone is now moving to, Siri asking the questions to,
Yeah,
where is so and so? How can I do this? Well, blah, 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 whatever it may be. That is really a big deal. And that is truly going to be the future
yeah.
because everyone's doing it. They're utilizing this technology. As a matter of fact, I feel like an old man because I'm still sitting here, texting
Right, right.
what I'm looking for, and I'm like, oh, I'm a big dummy. Let me just speak to Siri
Yeah,
and have her look it up
yeah.
for me. So again, think like your patient, think like your consumer, move like they do, and you will notice a big difference in regards to the traction and the branding and the marketing, all that stuff paying off.
Absolutely. And think about it too, is that audio may appeal to certain demographics. And I'm not just saying the young, because older patients or prospective patients may also find this to be extremely helpful. And those with disabilities that may not have dexterity or may not have,
Great point.
so it's important to realize that we're trying to help as many people in as many ways as we can find us and realize that we can offer them, and especially if we're doing specialty services, they may not realize that we exist in their town. And boy, what a revelation when people find out that we can offer things that solves problems that they may have been looking for years. So I absolutely recommend that you do it. And listen, if a digital genius and empire, as someone like Gary Vee says, audio is the future, you better believe you want to get on it, because you don't want to get left behind. But the other thing that talking about optimizing your website and optimizing it for Google My Business to get up there and get those reviews is what Gary was hinting at. Is there are some mechanical or technical things you can do for your site, and one of them a lot of people overlook, but it's the site speed. And you look at this from the standpoint of Google wants it to be optimized for this, but think about it with a potential patient. If they do take that chance and click on your website because you pop up at number 1 or 2 in on the search engine results page, but if your site is loading way too slowly, oh my gosh, how not they'll brush off. If it's more than a couple of seconds, and sometimes less than that, they'll disappear. And what Gary had posted, I actually had written it out, is you can go to this location. Again, all of these links I will pop down in the comments when we get done with the live broadcast. But you can actually see just how fast your website goes by just plugging in your website into this. So pull up this page. And guess what, folks? This is Google's own tool. So I think it behooves you to use their tool themselves. Okay.
Awesome.
So here's another one. Let's get to another one here. Hang on a second.
I have one in mind, but I don't want to say because it might pop up. So I'm just going to watch.
I think it probably is going to pop up, Darryl. we're now. You probably already know the rest of the slideshow without even seeing it. So the second one, there it is. I knew it was. I should have had you guess. I should have made you try to guess it. So let me say, Gary, go ahead and popped in here, and he said, I spent the week at a social media conference. Oh, we cannot ignore TikTok. You're right, Gary. And I do ignore TikTok because I am old, and I know, but I'm telling you, he's right. A lot of people think that TikTok is just about dancing, and we all see those pop up first and foremost. And I'll tell you that Instagram was so impressed with TikTok. They don't own each other, but Instagram is so impressed that they now made video. It might have happened a month or so ago, but they made video the first thing that pops up. They want their reels to actually pop up first. They're not getting rid of the feed. It's just when you open Instagram, that's what they're pushing to be the first thing that you see. And it looks like TikTok as far as I'm concerned, but TikTok actually also helps you get ranked. So, I've seen some really good, you have to kind of dig around in TikTok a little bit, and you're going to see, oh, guess what? There are how-to videos. Like you and I could have posted something and done a cute little thing. It didn't have to be a dance. We could have music, and we could have some little things popping up, all the different stuff popping up where it's a how-to. So don't ignore TikTok. And, Gary, you're absolutely right.
The one thing I want to also say about that is I'm a firm believer that you have to find your platform.
Yep.
Don't try to be on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Find your niche. Find whatever you feel comfortable with, because at the end of the day, you want to make sure, again, that you have consistency and clarity with your messaging. And that goes to the platforms when you're posting as well. So do whatever platform you feel comfortable with, or maybe even look at in your office. Do you have someone that's always on TikTok?
Right.
Utilize them for that. Do you have someone that's always on Instagram? Utilize them for that. Utilize your team and the expertise that you have right at your doorstep to make a difference in the SEO and that ranking. So look around you, but also make sure you pick what works for you the best, because at the end of the day, social media, it's a lot of work. It's not something that you just post and move on. It takes a lot of thought. It takes a lot of creativity. If you want it to be attractive and you want to pull people into your office. So make sure that you go at it with the plan.
Right. And that's a great idea. Yeah. Absolutely have a plan. And, I have some ideas for a couple of workshops around that, but absolutely have a plan, and absolutely involve your staff, because you might have 5 team members and realize that each one spends most of their time on a different platform than either you or each other. So it absolutely behooves you to do that. And Gary, he's talking about, again, TikTok. You can have fun with it, learn it, go over there and check it out. And we can have fun educational content around contact lenses, presbyopia. And we know our good friend Dr. Joseph Allen. He's got a huge YouTube channel. He's got over 400,000 subscribers, and he's done it organically. He did, he spent about 3 years or so, I think, the last that I discovered. And it's just amazing. And he's just doing educational videos for patients, prospective patients. And,
Oh, yeah.
he loves it. So that's where he spends most of his time. So find what it is that you enjoy, because you're going to be on it more often, and then involve some team members to be able to help expand that. As I say, go deep first and then go wide. You want to, niche down and then go, broader with some different places.
And if
But
you're looking for some doctors that are doing some amazing things in eye care, when it comes to LinkedIn, Dr. Sandy's doing an incredible job. I love LinkedIn. This is my niche. This is my area that I love to play around with. When it comes to Instagram, Dr. Nishan Presley, Ask Dr. Nish, Dr. Jennifer Sai, Dr. Jen and Juice. Those are two greats on the Instagram platform. When it comes to TikTok, Dr. Carly Rose, she is doing some amazing things. Check her out. She has a lot of great content. All the things that Gary's touching on, she does. And of course, YouTube again, Dr. Joey Allen, Dr. Eye Health. All of these stars are really making waves and really creating more awareness about eye care and the importance of eye care. So I salute them. I take my hat
yes.
off to them, and I thank them for, really putting our profession out there, because at the end of the day, we're all about, creating, access to eye care and just making sure everyone gets eye care. And in order to make that happen, we have to create awareness. And these are some of the leaders in the eye care sector that's really making that happen for us. So thank you so much.
Well, and thank you, Darryl, because I think that's how we met, was actually through LinkedIn, and
Yeah,
how I've met a lot of the influencers. There's no question it's been through social media, especially if we were starting to do it over the pandemic. We wouldn't necessarily have even met anybody, because we're not going to live conferences. But what I would love for you to do is, when we get done with this, is to go ahead and I'll give you, a couple of places that this is posting to, so that you can tag them, so that we can get them
sure,
some attention,
sure, sure.
and go ahead and put their handles, where they are on other platforms, not just necessarily the platform that you're going to be posting to. So the mobile optimization that a lot of people don't realize is Google is now prioritizing the mobile experience, which means you better have your website optimized for this experience, because they're looking at that now. And if it's not loading quickly, if it's not doing, certain things appropriately, and if you don't even have, well, then you're really out of luck. But, there's a place that you can go. Let me go ahead and put that up, where, again, this is Google's own tool. So it makes sense to go ahead and use it, where you can, oh, that's the speed. Hang on. I did that one already. Did I do that one? Hang on. Yeah, here it is, the mobile ready. So that's the one that you want to go to. Again, Google's own tool. So make sure that you go over there, put your website, just type in your regular website URL, and then see what it says. It's going to give you some information about whether or not you're mobile optimized. And I believe it gives you more tips. If not, I can send you some other sites that actually will give you tips on what you need to do to make it better. And again, we'll put all of these links in the comments, so that you can get to them pretty quickly and pretty easily. So let's go to the third thing that you want to test for, which is a little bit more generic, but you want to make sure that your website is optimized specifically for search engines. In other words, you want to make sure that the content that you're putting on your site is optimized, that you're putting the right keyword phrases, that when you're writing blog posts, make sure you are writing blog posts first and foremost. If your site is too static, Google is going to start to drop you off the first page. And you certainly don't want that to happen. You want to be in the top 3 positions, because I think it's something like on the first position, I think it's like 75 to 80% of people will click on the first position. The second one drops off to like 12 or 15%, and then the third is like 5%, something like that. But there's some very specific drop off that if you're not in the top 3 organic locations, then they're not even going to bother clicking on you. So that's the battle. The battle is in your local demographic, is to do all of these things that we've been talking about in order to climb to the top of the search engine. And there's some things that you can do. There's so many of these, but this is a particular location where you can actually do an audit of your own website. It's going to go ahead. It's going to let you know. It's going to talk about speed and mobile optimization, as well as whether or not your keyword phrases that it's finding on your site are actually ranking well for what you think it's ranking well, and where you rank for those keyword phrases. If you think, hey, when I put in that I'm the local eye doctor, well, yeah, you're probably competing with thousands of other doctors. So it's going to show you where you rank, and you might be surprised when you find out what that what that actual number is. So again, it's kind of a quick summary, but so in order to get discovered locally for phrases like the best eye doctor near me, and
I love that.
I'm having fun. By the way, here's a station break for an announcement. I forget how we used to do that on TV, but I absolutely, you and I were talking about this and just having so much fun. Canva, we love you. We appreciate you. I did this entire presentation on Canva, and it's seamless for the way that I'm doing it. I do not have dual monitors, by the way, so producing this show was a little bit tricky. I'm using StreamYard. They have not paid me to say this. I just absolutely love them, and it's I love software. I love teaching people how to use it, but I did all of this in Canva, and it's being shown through StreamYard. So thank you to those folks that allow us to have this wonderful software. So basically, optimize your site as much as possible. Make sure your address is on every page. Make sure you have location-based keywords that you're talking about. I'm in Tampa. You're talking about and I don't have my own practice up here, so don't go Google it because I'm not going to come up as number one. But I would be the best eye doctor near me, best eye doctor in Tampa, et cetera, et cetera. Use the word optometrist, best optometrist near me, best optometrist, et cetera. Make sure you're geotagging your social media posts, and all those things, and that you're getting the 5-star reviews. And then the other thing I wanted to say in summary, number 2, is now you want to get discovered for your specialties. You are the expert. How do you attract more patients into your specialty practice? How are you going to get them to schedule an appointment with you? Write blog posts, articles, email newsletters, etc. But write those posts from your website that showcases your specialty knowledge in terms that your audience, again, we've said this a lot of times now, would use in their searches. And as I mentioned it before, why do my eyes hurt after being on the computer all day versus is working on my computer causing dry eyes? No patient would ask that second question. They wouldn't even think to ask that question. So there you have it. This is what we learn inside the Eye Care Marketing Club that is located here.
There you go.
And you can find us at the scrolling banner below, and our services. And again, I didn't put it on the banner, but find Dr. Darryl over at Defocus Media. They do phenomenal work, and I just absolutely love listening, seeing, watching what you guys are doing over there and on the podcast.
Right back at you, Dr. Sandy. And I wanted to mention something that the comment that you made about testing if you're mobile friendly. While you were talking, I actually put my site up there, and it came back that yes, it was mobile friendly, but there were some areas that I can improve on. And this is something that I never even thought about. But when you do a website, in particular WordPress, and I'm pretty sure all the other platforms, a lot of times you can run into a problem with that Instagram feed. So my whole website was perfect, but it did pop up that there were some places that couldn't be populated, and it was the Instagram, that third party app that you may have on there. So that's something that you have to look at. My question for you is, do we need to have that Instagram feed on our website? Because that always, out of all the things on my website that always acts up, it's always the Instagram feed. And I'm pretty sure it's because Instagram is constantly changing things.
Right.
And the template that you use or whatever platform that you use, they have to be able to keep up with it. So what are your thoughts in regards to that?
Well,
that slow down your mobile time.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. That's with a lot of different, again, most of us are on WordPress sites, or you're on some sort of a website where you can add these plugins, the plugins themselves tend to slow down the website. So if you can make those lean and mean, there are all kinds of things on the internet that can explain to you what plugins could slow things down. I would say take it off if you're having trouble with it. I don't really, the whole idea is why are you putting, always ask your question, why am I doing this? Be critical of yourself. Anytime you're doing any kind of marketing, you're posting, you're looking at your website, things like that, ask, what is the purpose of this? Why am I doing this? So if that feed is actually slowing things down or it's not working, that throws a little bit of this is looking kind of unprofessional. You may find a plugin that works better. I definitely know it's called the API. I forget what it stands for, but the API of that third party may be broken. It may be that, like you said, either the website or the platform itself is no longer allowing it. Then you're going to have issues with it. So unless you're checking it daily, you might miss out on the fact that your website has had issues for like a month or so.
Yeah.
Um,
And even in this situation here, I'm looking at mine, and I went to my website to see if it was populating, and it actually populates on my website. So,
yeah.
Google is registering it as, it says Googlebot blocked by robots.text. And I'm just wondering, like, okay, I see it working, but this is registering that it's not working. So I'm like, I need to take this off because it's clearly working, but it's, pushing me down and,
Well, here's the other thing, and I want you to look at is if you know how to do your site or have your web designer look at it, and Gary
yeah,
can probably confirm this, but is in the plugin itself, it may actually say not to show it. So it may not be the plugin itself. It may be a setting that you have in the plugin. So robots.txt is what is telling Google all about your website. It's pushing out your information, and there's settings to tell, does your blog post get pushed out every day, every week, does your homepage get pushed out every day, every week, every month? So, a lot of technical stuff out there, but what that's your plugin may be telling the mobile experience not to do that. I'm not sure, I'm not an expert on your particular site. And the other thing that Gary is reminding us is those plugins are actually part of how websites can get hacked. So you always want to make sure they're up to date. But even if you keep them up to date, to his point, is that the person that developed that third party app may actually not be staying on top with maybe the
right.
WordPress software or some other thing, or the hackers
It's
themselves
always changing.
they're always so hackers are always figuring out ways to get into your site. So again, this is a discussion for a different day, but you always want to make sure that your website theme, your website software, and your website plugins continue to stay up to date. And if you don't do that for your site yourself, make sure that your web designer is doing that. They usually charge a monthly fee for you to do that. And then Gary had a question that, what have you both found to be best practice on a reminder of site test iExam? I'm guessing you're asking what's the best way, Gary, and make sure that you remind me, is the best way to have patients come back on an annual basis to remind them. I've got a whole workshop or course on that, but basically it starts in the office. If they're a prospective patient, you want to have a lot of your information out there that basically points to the importance of why you want to have annual eye exams. And then secondly, when the patient, as soon as they walk in the door, Mrs. Smith, thank you. It's so great seeing you for your annual eye exam. Then they get to the pretest. Mrs. Smith, thank you so much for, coming in. We're going to perform this test for your annual checkup. So you drop the word annual on a regular basis in all of your conversations and, just behind the scenes kind of stuff. As they're checking out, don't forget, Mrs. Smith, we've pre-appointed you, because we can now do that with our EMR software. We've now pre-appointed you for your annual eye exam. You may not know what you're doing on that day, but now you do. At 10 a.m. you're going to come in and see us, and don't worry about it. We're going to remind you a week ahead of time and then a day ahead of time. So you just have that system in place. If they miss it, they get a call back that day or the next day. We're so sorry you missed your annual eye exam. And then you send out a postcard or an email a week later. So that's a system that, a really good practice will instill. And then again, you talk about it on your social media. You talk about it in these really cute ways that you can
Oh yeah.
put it out there. So
Oh yeah. I mean, it's all about consistency at the end of the day.
yeah.
It's all those touch points, using the right wording, annual. I mean, that's something that we have done a horrible job when it comes to
Yeah.
eye care. The dental industry got it right.
Yeah.
You got to go get your teeth cleaned at least twice a year. There's no reason why, especially in the current age that we're in, the digital age, why people shouldn't be, especially kids, getting their eyes examined twice a year, because we're seeing these big shifts in myopia, and it's just a great opportunity to help these
Yeah.
patients and make sure they have all the tools and resources to be successful with the eyes. But one thing I wanted to touch on, and I know we could have a whole class on, how you
Sure.
bring people back. But I'm all about that digital experience. But sometimes I think we forget the power of a postcard
Yeah.
or mail. What are your thoughts in regards to also just having a postcard to send to them as a reminder as well? I mean, is that something that you encourage? Is it something that you advise? What are your thoughts in regards to that?
I do, and it's usually as part of that system that I mentioned. I don't think you need to in this day and age. And again, part of your intake when the patient first gets there for the first time and every time thereafter, you want to ask them to make the patient experience as wonderful as possible. You want to ask them, how would you like us to communicate with you? Again, about your annual eye exams. And if you have them back for follow-ups, of course, you're going to say that for your 3-month glaucoma check, et cetera, et cetera. So, but part of that system, you're asking them, and then there should be a place in the EMR that actually you can put that, and you get that information. You get their texting telephone number, you get their email number, or you get, we have all of that in there anyway as part of the intake form. But ask them how they would prefer to be reached. I would say though that I don't think it's a bad thing as part of that system that if they miss their appointment, you call them to remind them that they missed their annual exam. Then why not send out a friendly postcard in about 3 weeks? Get that cemented in their brain that annual eye exams are important. And I would say to that, because now we're ignoring all of our emails, but don't we get all excited when a handwritten card comes in the mail? It's like,
Yep.
ooh. So I would say, on special occasions, birthdays, of course, but let's think outside the box. And maybe there's something that the patient has told us in the past that's very special. And if, maybe they have an anniversary coming up of something that's very special, go ahead and mail them a card that addresses that particular thing. Don't you think that you're going to get a 5-star review? And hey, here's an idea. On the back of the card, have your pre-printed QR code for the review with a little cute little message.
There you
And
go.
no, there's no pressure. It's just if they turn it over and they so choose to leave a review, don't you think that handwritten, and make it handwritten, make the envelope handwritten and make the card handwritten? Don't you think that they're going to absolutely, absolutely love, love, love to get that?
Absolutely. And I'm just thinking about, even if you did that, not even right before the eye exam, but halfway through the year to the eye exam, right? Just
Right.
whatever updates you may have in the
Sure.
practice, and then having that QR code on the back, and educating, oh, we have this new frame line. I think it'll work well with it. I mean, there's so much that you can do, and
Absolutely.
really customize, that experience for that patient that's a part of your practice. So great
Absolutely.
information, great information, great information as always, Dr. Sandy.
Yeah. And don't forget, because we have the technology, come join us over at the Eye
You,
Care Marketing
you
Club
know what we should have
on
had on that?
Clubhouse. What?
I have a suggestion for next time: a QR code.
Oh, how did I miss it? I cannot believe. And guess who makes it absolutely easy to put a QR code in your presentation?
Canva.
Canva. They have it built in as part of their presentation mode. So yeah, that you can tell we have entirely too much fun with all of this, guys.
Oh yeah. Oh,
And again, it's because the software makes it so easy, to do that. So um, I guess if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and take it away and end it. But any last words, Darryl, before I go ahead and close out the broadcast?
just everyone have a fantastic weekend. Thank you always for tuning in to hang out with Dr. Sandy and I. We really love this. We always want to make sure that eye care is at the forefront of healthcare. We are the gatekeepers into healthcare. And it's very important to make sure that you understand your brand, that you understand the importance of marketing, because that's what's going to help, keep eye care to the forefront. So thank you so much, everyone. This has been a blast. Thank you, Dr. Sandy. It's your favorite optometrist, Dr. Darryl Gover. Have a fantastic day and weekend.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much. And you're going to hear that I've kind of adapted your favorite optometrist to my own. So I'm going to close it out basically by saying thank you to those watching live or on the replay, and thank you, Dr. Darryl Glover, for taking the time out of your very busy weekend to co-host the Insights segment from the Eye Care Marketing Club and as part of the Eye Care Marketing Insights Innovation and Impact series. I'm your host, Dr. Sandy Eveleth, and here it goes, your eye care marketing OD. As a practice consultant and certified master marketer, I love helping eye care providers basically maximize their wealth, time, and practice growth by attracting more ideal patients. If you'd like to book an innovative strategic marketing session with me, and let me go ahead and be fancy here and see if I can put up the correct. There it is. Go to drsandyellis.com/book Dr. Sandy. And again, thanks again. We look forward to seeing you next time.